Peace. Back with this the second video, the one I said I would do. And I wanted to focus on the astrological houses on this video. The very first video I did, I tried to touch on the planets, and I just want to do a quick recap if you didn't see the first video. In astrology, you have 10 planets, and not just the one, which is the sun that we focus on according to the day you was born. You have 9 other planets, and they all describe a different part of your personality. And so with those combined, it gives you a complete astrological profile or makeup, and we call it a birth chart in astrology, or a birth horoscope. This is a quick sample. This is a picture of my horoscope, and you have all of the planets in different signs and different houses. So even though I'm a Virgo by sun, you can see I got a lot of planets in Libra and Scorpio. I have a lot of that energy as well, and so a lot of you will have the same thing, not the same thing as me, but you will have planets in other signs other than the one that you was born under. And this is why, for some of y'all, you might have read the description of your sign, and every time you hear it, you like, man, that don't sound nothing like me. You might be a Cancer, but you might not be emotional at all. That could be because you might only have one planet in Cancer, which is your sun. You might have a lot of earth planets, and that will make you more grounded, or a lot of air planets, and that would tend to make you less emotional. And so as you begin to learn that the makeup dealing with elements, you can see how a complete personality unfolds according to where your planets fall in your horoscope or your birth chart. All right, so before I get started, I just wanted to show a few things, like a couple tools that I use. Like this is one of my favorite ones, and it lines up the planet signs and the houses, and you can study it. You can turn this wheel, like you can see Venus and Pisces and third house or whatever house, and it describes what it means for that planet, what it means for that sign in that house, and what description does it mean. What does it mean for you? Everybody has a Venus in their horoscope, and they have it in a certain sign, and they have it in a certain house, and it's unique to you as an individual. This is why this is so important. Like for a long time, astrology has been overlooked, it's been demonized. I mean, it's misrepresented, and I just think we have to understand that these sciences that we had these way before anybody came and taught anything dealing with any religion, any philosophy, any theology. We was always, when we was on the right path, we was always in tune with nature. God is nature, and you can't get away from that. You can't get away from the 4 elements: fire, earth, air, and water. The issue is we've gotten so far away from that, because we haven't been studying on our own. So somebody was able to come along and lead us astray and get us out of tune with God. Therefore we don't have no knowledge of self. And this is what I'm coming to bring back: knowledge of self, knowledge of your true essence of who you are. All right, so another thing I wanted to show real quick. I really like these. These is cards for the planets, signs, and the zodiac houses. And you can see, like, you got the moon, let's say in Scorpio, in the first house. You see, and this is another way to study, to get to understand astrology. And there's a lot of other tools that you can get. Like this entire shelf right here is all astrology books, and then there's some up here. Like this is something I'm really into, and that I plan to do. for the rest of my life, I want to dedicate, my time to helping people understand themselves. I think it's very important for us to get to know who we are, and this is one of the basic ways that we can get to know ourselves. You know, on the outside of meditation and other things like that, to get back in tune with ourselves spiritually. It's very important that we do that. You know, instead of just waiting for somebody else to tell us, about ourselves, we have to start getting back in tune, on the inside. And that's where God really is, on the inside of you, on the inside of every person, is that divine energy that gives life. And that's one of the things that I want to definitely help to be understood again. All right, so I'm gonna go ahead and touch on these the astrological houses. All right. So like I was saying before, you're gonna have in your birth chart or your horoscope, you're gonna have 10 planets, and they're gonna fall in specific houses. These are what we call houses in astrology. You have 12 of these segments, each 30 degrees. You have a 360-degree circle. Each segment is 30 degrees. All right. So on the opposite, it'll be 180 degrees, which will be an opposition. And then you have other degrees that signify either stress or harmony. But I'll get into that another time. That's more going deeper into it. Those are the aspects. But okay, so the very first house that we have in astrology is the house of self, the first house, and it's ruled by the sign of Aries and the planet Mars. All right, so if you have a lot of planets in that house, or any in that house, that energy will be directed to yourself. Your physical appearance. It would also talk about a lot of self focus. Planets in the first house. Then the second house is the house of Taurus, ruled by the planet Venus. Your second house rules your money and also what you value. So the second house is values and finances. So if you want to know about yourself and your relationship with money, you see what planets you have in the second house. Also, what astrological sign is on the cusp of the second house, which is this line. You will have a specific sign on the cusp of each house, and then you'll have specific planets in other houses. Although you probably won't have a planet in every single house, but you can have multiple planets in one house. And if you have 3 or more planets in one house, that's what you call a stellium, and that energy is really fused together and powerful, and that means you will have a lot of focus in that area of your life. I got a stellium right here in Libra, in the 11th house, the 11th house of Aquarius. But the ruler of that house for me is the sign of Virgo. All right, so you'll begin to see when you look up your chart. Also, go to like astro.com. That's one of the best sites to get your own personal birth chart or horoscope. Astro.com. Also, Cafe Astrology is another one. All right, so the third house in astrology is a house of Gemini, ruled by the planet Mercury. The third house is the house of communication. Also, short distance travels falls under the third house as well. Okay, so also your siblings too. Your relationship with your siblings. If you have a lot of siblings, like any of those things can be found in the third house. So to backtrack a little bit, like let's go with the second house of money, right? If you have the planet of Jupiter, which is the planet of luck and expansion, if you have Jupiter in the second house of money, what would that mean? You can be very lucky with money, lucky with growing and expansion, on the material level. A lot of rich people have multiple planets here in the second house. You know what I mean? This is how you can begin to understand. Like you always look to your planets. Look to your planets. Look which sign they are in, and look which houses. Look at which house, which house that your planets is in. If you have the planet Saturn there, Saturn could indicate some kind of limitations with money. You might have a hard time achieving money or holding on to it, being that Saturn is the planet that deals with restrictions, limitations. All right, so this is how you begin to put the picture together. Mercury, the planet of intellect and thinking, in the second house will indicate you might have a brilliant mind towards achieving money. It could be also indicate that's you might think about money a lot. You might have a hard time getting it off your mind just on a basic level. These are some of the manifestations it could come as. The fourth house is ruled by Cancer and the moon. The planet of the moon rules Cancer, even though it's a luminary. But in astrology, the sun and the moon are considered planets. So the fourth house, that's your home and family life, also your roots and the conditions at the end of life. All of that will be covered in the fourth house. So if you a person with planets in the fourth house, they can focus a lot on their home and family life. Let's say maybe you have Venus in the fourth house. You might be a person who really likes to beautify your homes and your surroundings where you live. Venus dealing with beauty, the fourth house dealing with home. All right. Fifth house is the house of Leo, and it's ruled by the sun, the planet of the sun in astrology. All right. The fifth house rules creativity, what you like to do for fun. Fifth house also deals with your romantic relationships. Children is ruled. Children is covered in the fifth house. So you might, if you have abundance of planets there, that can indicate having being fruitful with children, especially if you have Jupiter there. If you have Saturn in the fifth house, that could indicate somebody who might have children at an older age. All right. Okay, so now we move on to the sixth house. The sixth house is the house of Virgo, dealing with health. Also, your diet is covered in the sixth house. Your service and also your everyday routine is sixth house matters. All right, so you look, if you want to know anything about your health, your physical well-being, you look to the sixth house. All right, then before I move on any further, we have what you call transits in astrology. Now the planets are always moving. All right, so as the planets move to different positions in your horoscope, the transits trigger certain events in your life. So you don't only have to look at it from a perspective of your birth chart to look at your basic profile of your personality, but also what's going on right now in my life. What's going on with me as far as relationships? I look at my horoscope. I look at Venus. I can also look to the seventh house, because that rules relationships. If I want to know about money, I look to Jupiter. Also, I can look to the second house and see when these planets are going to hit certain areas in the chart. That way you can kind of keep we have to start going in flow with the energy that God has given to us. This is how you get to flow in harmony with nature, when you begin to get in tune with the creation that's given to us. It's always important to start knowing these things about the planets, about the zodiac. These are and then the elements. These is energies that are inside of us. So we always should try to be in tune with these things. So the seventh house, we're gonna move on to the top half of the horoscope wheel. Now when we move up here, the top half of the chart is dealing with your relationships with other people, whereas the bottom half of the chart deals with your personal self and your self-development. Now when you get here, you begin to share with the world and you begin to make contact with other people. So in the seventh house, we dealing with it's the house of Libra, ruled by Venus as well. And then the seventh house covers your marriage and your partnerships, also your business partnerships. If you have any kind of business dealings going on, you would look to that, to the seventh house, if you want to know about it. Or you want to know about your marriage partner, you look to the seventh house, the house of Libra. Again, partnerships. Then we move on to the eighth house of Scorpio. The eighth house is ruled by Mars and sub-ruled by Pluto. And the eighth house covers sex. It covers uh, any kind of inheritances like taxes is covered in the eighth house. Any joint resources is eighth house matters. You got the second house, Taurus, deals with money. Eighth house is your money connected with your partner. See, we got self, partnerships, Aries, self, seventh house Libra, you and your partner. It always goes up right across from each other, and they give you the opposite, but dealing with the world at large. All right. Also, okay, we're gonna move on to the ninth house. All right, so the ninth house is the house of Sagittarius, ruled by the planet Jupiter. Now, the ninth house deals with higher learning. It deals with philosophy, um, growing and expanding your knowledge on a wider level, on a more spiritual level. Whereas the third house is your communication and your understanding. The ninth house takes that to a broader level because Jupiter wants to grow and expand what you learned here. So the ninth house also deals with religion, uh, higher learning, studies like colleges, universities. Religion is also covered in the ninth house. All of those things is ruled in the ninth house. This basically the search for meaning, the search for purpose. All of that's covered in the ninth house. All right, then the 10th house, the very top of the chart, is ruled by Saturn in the planet, in the sign of Capricorn. The 10th house rules your career. It rules your public image. How does the world view you? What's your image like in the world? So if you have planets in the 10th house, that can indicate somebody who's very ambitious, also who has who's seen in the public eye a lot. Like I have my son is in the 10th house, and I never really had the desire to be in the public eye or even to do nothing like this, but whenever you have planets in the 10th house, you're not going to be able to escape it. Like you always going to end up being out, having the attention on you, having the spotlight on you in some way, form, or fashion. At some point in your life, you're going to be brought to the forefront. And when I first started studying astrology and I started reading that about my 10th house, I was like, oh man, I wasn't looking forward to it, but now I understand that it's a part of my purpose. We have to fulfill our purpose. When we look at the positions of our planets, we see that it's a part of who we are, and we have to submit, to who we are, to who we are meant to be, and what we came here to do. And that's very important for personal fulfillment. All right, so the next the next house is the house of Aquarius, which is the 11th house, and the 11th house deals with groups, organizations, any kind of clubs, any kind of involvement with the community at large. That's the 11th house. All of those things will be covered there. If you wanted to know any information dealing with that, you look to the 11th house. Also, your goals, your hopes, and your wishes and your dreams is the 11th house. So you look there to see if you wanted to know about any of those things. That's where you would look to. I got 4 planets there. That's the strongest part of my horoscope, the 11th house, where it's stacked up in the sign of Libra. And so that's something that's going to be a big theme in my life. Being a part of the community. Being involved with groups. I was always in religious groups when I was younger. Until maybe about 4 years ago. As I began to learn more spiritual aspects of higher learning. So it's all a process in learning who we are. Everybody is on a different path. Each path is significant to that person. That's why we should never down another person or think that we better or learning more or more significant than somebody else, because their path is unique, just like your path is unique, just like my path is unique. All right, so the last house is the 12th house, the house of Pisces, and is ruled by the planet Neptune. All right, the 12th house deals with what's hidden, what's underneath the surface. Also, your self undoing is ruled in the 12th house. Secret enemies is the 12th house. All right, so those are the 12 astrological houses. These are where your planets will be found at, and one of these 12 houses, your sun is going to be there, your moon is going to be in one, your Mercury is going to be in one, and that's going to describe different aspects of you, of your personality. All right. Um, so I hope that shed more light on, the horoscope and exactly what it is. One thing I want to touch on before I end this video is the North Node and the South Node. These symbols here, they look like earphones. The North Node will tell you about your purpose, what you came here to do, what you came here to fulfill, and your room for growth, what traits you need to pick up in order to grow. All right. The opposite of that, the South Node, will represent what traits you need to leave behind because you already mastered them. So therefore you get kind of comfortable, in those traits because they come second nature to you. So you got North Node, what you should work towards, the South Node, what you should work towards, leaving behind. You see what I mean? So you have to look at the North and South Node when you want to know about your purpose, and where you need to focus on in order to grow, as far as character wise. And also okay, I'm gonna stop there with this video. Hopefully you got a better understanding of the houses, and I'll see you next time.